Open on flashing police lights. Slow zoom on bewildered officer's face. Party music pumping in background. Freeze frame. Dramatic pause. Let me paint you a picture. It's a warm Saturday evening. The grill is fired up, there's ice-cold drinks in the cooler, my speakers are hitting just right, and about 30 of my closest friends are packed into my garage having the time of their lives. Laughter, music, good food, the kind of night you plan for weeks. And then, the knock came. Not just any knock. That knock. The sharp, authoritative, I'm ending your fun knock that could only mean one thing. My HOA's self-appointed neighborhood sheriff had struck again. Stay with me, because what happened in the next 10 minutes had every single person at that party, including the officers, absolutely speechless. I'm talking jaws on the floor. And trust me, Karen did not see this coming. Backhand index pointing right, smash that like button, you're going to want to share this one. Before I get into what went down that night, you need to understand the full picture because this didn't come out of nowhere. This is the product of 2.5 years of living next door to the most aggressively power-hungry HOA enforcer I've ever had the misfortune of meeting. For the sake of this video, we'll call her Karen because, honestly, the name fits so perfectly it's almost suspicious. Karen moved into our quiet cul-de-sac about 3 years ago, and within 6 months had appointed herself the unofficial, unpaid, completely self-important ambassador of the Homeowners Association. She wasn't on the HOA board. She wasn't elected to any position. She simply decided she was in charge, and she enforced that belief with the energy of someone who had nothing else going on, which, for what I could tell, was accurate. In 2 years, I had received 14 formal HOA complaint letters. 14. I had a trash bin that was allegedly 2 inches too far from the curb. My lawn was a shade too tall. We're talking maybe half an inch over the limit in July during a heat wave. My car was parked in my own driveway at an angle she described in writing as aesthetically discordant. That was a real quote. Aesthetically discordant. She had called the HOA hotline on my Christmas lights for being excessively festive. I still don't know what that means. She had filed a noise complaint when my nephew's birthday party ran 30 minutes past 8 p.m. on a Saturday. He was turning 7. There was a piñata. Karen called it a public disturbance. So when I tell you that this woman had it out for me, I need you to understand I'm not exaggerating even slightly. She had made it her personal mission to make my life as uncomfortable as legally possible, all while hiding behind the language of community standards and property values. Which makes what happened at my garage party so much more satisfying. Because the universe, every once in a while, has a sense of humor. The party itself was nothing extraordinary by any reasonable measure. My buddy Marcus had just gotten a promotion, huge deal, years in the making, and I told him we were celebrating right. I've got a 2-car garage with a pretty solid setup. A mini fridge, a Bluetooth speaker system I've been building out for a couple years, some string lights, folding chairs, and a side burner grill just inside the door so the smoke rolls out. It's comfortable, it's casual, and on a nice evening with the garage door up, it's genuinely one of the best hangout spots on the block. I had 32 guests. I had checked the local noise ordinance. Music had to be below a certain decibel level after 10 p.m., and my party was planned to wrap by 9:30. I had even messaged 2 of my other neighbors in advance, just to give them a heads up and make sure there were no conflicts, because that's what a normal, considerate person does. The music was good. The food was better. Marcus was glowing. And for the first hour and 45 minutes, everything was perfect. It was about 7:45 p.m. when I caught Karen in my peripheral vision. She was standing at the edge of her driveway, arms crossed, phone to her ear, staring directly at my garage with the expression of someone filing a grievance in real time. Which, as it turned out, she was. I watched her pace. I watched her point. I watched her go back inside. I figured she called the HOA complaint line again. Fine. Let them come. I had done nothing wrong, and I was prepared to prove it. What I did not expect, what none of us expected, was for 2 police cruisers to pull up to my curb at 8:03 p.m. 2 squad cars. Not 1. 2. I saw the lights before I heard the engines. And for just a second the party went quiet as everyone registered what was happening. A couple of people started reaching for their phones. Marcus looked at me with wide eyes. I set down my drink, took a breath, and walked toward the street. One of the officers, I'll call him Officer Davis, stepped out first. He was professional, calm, and clearly not thrilled to be there. He told me they had received a call reporting a large, loud, potentially unlawful gathering at my address. He asked if I was the homeowner. I confirmed. He asked if I had permission to host a gathering. I said, yes, it's my home. He asked about the noise level and how long I planned to continue. I told him exactly what I'd looked up. The local ordinance, the decibel limit, the end time I planned. He nodded slowly, clearly running through his checklist. Behind him, I could see Karen had come back outside. She was standing on her front porch with her arms crossed and a look of pure satisfaction on her face. She thought she had one. She had not yet looked at the man standing 6 feet to my left. That man was Chief Raymond Holloway, Chief of Police, 22-year department veteran. The man every officer in that precinct reported to, directly or indirectly. He had been standing in my garage for the past 90 minutes eating brisket and talking football with Marcus. He walked up calmly, hands in his pockets, and said, and I will never forget this as long as I live, "Hey, Davis. Everything all right over here?" Officer Davis turned around. His entire body language shifted in approximately half a second. He straightened up and said, "Chief Holloway." "Sir." Yes, sir. We received a noise complaint. I've been here since 6:30, the chief said pleasantly. Doesn't seem like a noise problem to me. Let me describe what happened on Karen's face in real time, because it was one of the most extraordinary things I have ever personally witnessed. First came confusion. She was too far away to hear the conversation and just saw 2 officers and me. Then came anticipation. She thought they were about to shut me down. Then came the moment Chief Holloway turned and made eye contact with her across the street. She recognized him. I could tell by the way her hand slowly dropped from her hip. She had probably seen his photo in the local paper, maybe at town hall. Whatever it was, recognition hit her like a truck. The satisfaction on her face drained completely. She didn't move. She just stood there. Chief Holloway gave her the politest, controlled, professionally devastating nod I have ever seen. The kind of nod that says, I know exactly who called this in, and I want you to know that I know. Then he turned back to Officer Davis, confirmed that everything at the party was in order, that the host was a personal acquaintance, and that he would be continuing to enjoy the evening. He thanked the officers for their response time. They returned to their cars. Karen went back inside. The garage erupted. Not in a mean, taunting way, just 32 people who had just witnessed something too good to process quietly. Marcus nearly fell out of his chair. My neighbor Dave literally dropped. His burger. I stood at the end of my driveway for a moment, just breathing it in. Chief Holloway walked back over, grabbed his drink, and said, "Nice neighborhood. Little uptight, though." And we all lost it. Now, you might be wondering how I knew Chief Holloway in the first place. It's a fair question. He and Marcus have been friends since high school. We're talking 30-plus years. He was on the original invitation list, showed up like anyone else, grabbed a plate, and blended right in. I hadn't made any announcement about it. There was no reason to. He was just a friend of friend at a party. In the days that followed, I did some digging because at this point, I had documentation of every single complaint Karen had ever filed against me. 14 HOA letters. Several noise complaints that had never led to citations because there was nothing to cite. I brought all of it to a consultation with a local attorney who specializes in HOA law and neighbor disputes. What I learned was fascinating and validating in equal measure. Every single complaint she had filed was technically within her rights to file. That's the maddening part of HOA-adjacent harassment. But there were patterns that, taken together, could constitute a form of targeted harassment under certain local statutes. The attorney drafted a formal letter. It was sent. Karen has not filed a single complaint since. The HOA board, to their credit, reached out to me after reviewing the complaint history. They acknowledged that the volume and specificity of complaints against a single household had been flagged internally. They couldn't tell me what action, if any, they took with Karen, but the complaints stopped. The letters stopped. The porch surveillance stopped. My street is quieter now, not because anyone stopped living their lives, but because the person who was loudest about everyone else's business finally went quiet. Here's what I want you to take away from this, because I don't want it to just be a funny story, even though it absolutely is a funny story. Know your rights. Know your local noise ordinances. Document everything. Keep records of every complaint, every letter, every interaction. Not because you're planning for war, but because when someone decides to make you their target, that paper trail is your most powerful tool. And second, be kind to people. Invite your neighbors to things when you can. Build genuine connections in your community. Because I'll be honest with you, Chief Holloway being at that party wasn't a calculated power move. It was just friendship. It just happened to be the exact right friendship at the exact right moment. Kindness has a funny way of paying back. Karen chose a different approach. She chose suspicion, resentment, and control. And on one warm Saturday night, that approach walked directly into a wall it didn't see coming. If you've dealt with an HOA nightmare, a Karen situation, or a neighbor dispute that went sideways, drop in the comments. I read every single one, and the best stories might just end up in a future video right here on NeighborWars HQ. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a new episode, and if you know someone living next to their own personal Karen, do them a favor and send them this video. Thumbs up, like, bell, subscribe. Share new episodes every week on NeighborWars HQ.